In the Middle Ages, a Jewish New Year tradition began. One approaches a body of flowing water, be it river, stream, or ocean, on the first day of Rosh Hashana. At the water's edge, alone or in community, crumbs are cast into the water as symbols of failures from the year just ended we hope to leave behind. We never start with a truly clean slate, and we know that we still have work to do to repair our relationships. Yet opportunities for new beginnings do not appear every day. Let us seize today for the sake of tomorrow. Casting away. We cast into the depths of the sea our sins and failures and regrets. Reflections of our imperfect selves flow away. What can we bear? With what can we bear to part? We upturn the darkness, bring what is buried to light. What hurts still lodge? What wounds have yet to heal? We empty our hands, release the remnants of shame, let go fear and despair that have dug their home in us. Open hands, opening heart. The year flows out, the year flows in.
Strange is our situation here upon the earth. Each of us comes for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we know, that we are here for the sake of each other. Above all, for those upon whose smile and well-being our own happiness depends, and also for the countless unknown souls whose fate we are connected by a bond of sympathy. Many times a day, I realize how much our own outer and inner life is built upon the labors of others, both living and dead, and how earnestly I must exert myself in order to give in return as much as I have received and am still receiving.
One day, Honi, the circle maker, was walking on the road and saw a man planting a carob tree. Honi asked the man, "How long will it take this tree to bear fruit?" The man asked, 70 years. Honi then asked the man, "And do you think you will live another 70 years and eat the fruit of the tree?" The man answered, "Perhaps not. However, when I was born into this world, I found many carob trees planted by my father and grandfather. Just as they planted trees for me, I am planting trees for my children and grandchildren, so they will be able to eat the fruit of the trees.
Last night, a new year was born. Like a child, a new year already has within it the seeds of the year it may become. Just as our DNA is not our fate, the past does not absolutely determine our future. As we nurture this new year into maturity, we may yet learn from our mistakes, make wiser choices, do good, and then do better. We're the sum of our yesterdays, but we're also the potential of our tomorrows.
I can stay the tears of others if I can see myself as diminished of their sorrows. I can hasten time when everyone will be able to rejoice in freedom. And if I can see myself as the companion of those fighting against oppression, I can honor the struggle of people everywhere to gain dignity and deliverance from bondage. When I look at myself in the mirror, who will I see?
Maturity is a balance of freedom and responsibility. To the young, getting older seems attractive because of freedom. The older they become, the more they can choose their friends, what they wear, how they live their lives. Yet undisciplined freedom can lead to selfishness, greed, and isolation. To adults, staying young seems attractive because of responsibility. The younger they were, the less responsible they were for their own lives and for the lives of others. Yet irresponsible adulthood robs us of dignity, and it is no strategy for mature happiness. Wisdom comes from the right balance of freedom and responsibility. We are free to choose our own path. The dignity of assuming responsibility provides a deep satisfaction, for the mastery of our own lives gives us the power to help others.
To a B mitzvah. I want to tell you a secret, kid. Although we say today you are an adult, because the calendar page has turned, because your age is now 2 digits, because you have studied and prayed and read and written and worried and hoped to prepare for this, your big day, your childhood will continue forever in you, its questions, fears, wonders, dreams, magic. Though you take on the stature of adulthood, its responsibilities, powers, doubts, alleged wisdom, you will always be a child deep inside, wandering, seeking, finding, losing, finding, living.
The stages of life according to Judaism. Judah ben Tema used to say, at 5 years old, one is fit for the scripture. At 10 years for the Mishnah, at 13 for the fulfilling of the commandments, at 15 for the Talmud, at 18 for the marriage canopy, at 20 for pursuing a calling, at 30 for authority, at 40 for discernment, at 50 for counsel, at 60 to attain intellectual maturity, at 70 to provide communal leadership, at 80 for special strength, at 90 for bowed back, and at 100 to accomplish perfect grace, having passed clinging to this world. We learn life's wisdom from many sources. Relatives offer experience, friends give encouragement, schools teach society's knowledge, and culture provides the fruit of human creativity. All that we learn becomes part of us and informs who we are and how we think. Judaism is one branch on the human tree of knowledge. Some insights stand the test of time, and others are relics of the past. The Torah is our first collection, but it is not the end of Jewish wisdom. We learn from every generation of our people's journey through the world, as we hope future generations may learn from us. Let us draw on the wisdom of our people then and today.
I invite us to rise as we learn from the wisdom of our people. Last evening at our Rosh Hashana services, we explored the narrative of Cain and Abel, the first murder. This narrative is echoed through Jewish literature and thought through the centuries. And today we explore an implication, a ramification of that story as recorded in the Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud. How does one instill fear in witnesses in capital cases? One brings them in and instills fear in them, saying, perhaps you would testify by a guess, or by a rumor, or from the mouth of another witness, or you heard it from a trustworthy source. Or maybe you do not know that we shall examine you by cross-examination and interrogation. You should know that criminal trials are not like civil trials. In civil trials, a bad witness pays money and is forgiven. In criminal trials, with the risk of the death penalty, his blood and the blood of all his descendants hang in the balance to the end of all generations. So we find when Cain slew his brother, it is said, the sound of your brother's bloods cry to me from the earth, dameh achicha. It does not say your brother's blood, singular, but your brother's bloods, his blood and that of all his descendants. Therefore, humanity was created alone in the world to teach that for anybody who destroys a single life, it is counted as if they destroyed an entire world. And for anybody who preserves a single life, it is counted as if they preserved an entire world. Whom do we save? Our people or anyone? Both are part of Jewish tradition. The Jerusalem Talmud's version of this passage is universal. Any life lost is as if the original Adam had been killed, the end of everything. This particular discussion focuses on legal proceedings in capital cases, where a person's life hangs in the balance. In Jewish legal practice, when we had the power, a false witness in a death penalty case could themselves be put to death. Today, this text is deployed admirably to universal impact. The death of anyone is the death of a universe, just as Cain's murder of Abel was the end of Abel's future, not only his present. However, there are two Talmuds. Why would you assume two Jews, one Talmud? In the Babylonian Talmud, the same legal issue results in the same procedural text and a similar lesson, but one word makes a big difference. From the Babylonian Talmud, therefore humanity was created alone to teach that anyone who destroys a single life may Yisrael from the Jewish people, it is counted as if they destroyed an entire world. And anyone who preserves a single life may Yisrael from the Jewish people, it is counted as if they sustained an entire world. From universalism to particularism. Both the Babylonian and Jerusalem Talmuds have ancient manuscripts to justify their versions, and it is hard to know which was the original. On some level, it does not matter which was original. Both are Jewish, created by Jews, taught by Jews, learned by Jews over the centuries. Anti-Semites might point to this particularist version to claim that Jews are more chauvinist than other people, thus justifying the anti-Semites' irrational hatred. Jewish defenders might claim that because this particularist version refers to Jewish court practice, which only applied to Jewish defendants and Jewish witnesses, it's not as bad as it sounds. And the universal version gives us bonus points in any case. For me, these two versions demonstrate that Jews are human, no more and no less. That balance between us and them, our needs and human needs, how we treat our neighbor and how we treat the stranger, that is the crucial balance of morality that all humanity faces. Treating your family better than others is natural unless you are a teenager. Truly treating the other as you would be treated, that requires moral training. Celebrating the indescribable worth of every life as an entire world is one way to start. Please rise as we return our Torah scroll to the Ark. Thank you. Please be seated.
We are familiar with parenting, but what is adulting? Not everyone becomes a parent. All of us need to face the realities of adult life. All those mundane tasks, the difference between need and want, postponing momentary pleasure for long-term benefit. We know that death is real, that life is unfair, and that we have to make the best of an imperfect world and our imperfect selves. There are times to analyze the world, and there are times to let ourselves go into the moment's experience. Adulthood is not only a matter of requirements and responsibilities. To be truly in charge of our own lives, we have to know when to control what we can and when to experience what we cannot define.
I do not ask. I used to mumble many words in the prayer book without much thought. Even all wise, all good, all powerful God. Until dear Clara was felled by a stroke. She who always did for others, now helpless, shorn of dignity. The contradiction of those words struck me then, forced me to shake my head over and over again. But saying no and saying nothing are not for me. I need to say yes, yes to a soap bubble afloat in sunshine, to a newborn baby's perfect fingernails, to a child reading a first sentence, to the look of love that lights a face. I do not ask who or how, I just say yes.
Nearing 80, I look into the mirror and smile, laugh not at myself, but at the calendar. Have never been 80 before. I was frightened at the thought of 8. Here I am, the calendar says, reaching the shore. I am a living book, a pageless book that I could never reread within 8 years. I need more years. I am so busy with life and with words that I cannot pronounce like a newborn baby. I want to understand myself, neighbors, family, country. I desire a great number of years. Will I ever learn at all? Never. I want to feel as I do, numberless, young, old. I am I. I can see, I can hear, I can cry, I can smile the same as yesterday, a century ago. With all the pages of the book unopened, I have new ones yet to write. What a delight, nearing 80, to say to the calendar, forgive me, but I doubt your power. I feel and I am.
life after death. These things I know, how the living go on living, and how the dead go on living with them. So that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one. And the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and the moss covers it. And in the spring, the rabbits find it and build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature or in love.
Like a newly planted sapling, like a newborn child, like a budding adult, like a fresh love, like a new experience, the new year awaits. We cannot know what deaths and births, what twists and turns of the cycle of life the next 4 seasons hold. We hope for the best, prepare for the challenges, and hold tightly to each other. If the future is to be better, we must make it so, and we can make it so together.
Merger poem. And then all that has divided us will merge. And then compassion will be wedded to power. And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind. And then both men and women will be gentle. And then both women and men will be strong. And then no person will be subject to another's will. And then all will be rich and free and varied. And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many. And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance. And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old. And then all will nourish the young. And then all will cherish life's creatures. And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth. And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
I shall not disappear without a trace. Within your hearts, my flame shall find a place. I'll carry this great truth across the earth, that we are holy, yes, beyond all worth. From land to land, I'll seek my radiant goal, till we shall reach the heights of our own soul, till every demon shall be overthrown and freedom come at last into its own. The path I choose leads from heart to heart. No, not without a trace shall I depart. The treasures of my life are yours to keep. The harvest of my days is yours to reap. For it was your unfathomed life to me, showed what a giant this poor one might be. Not everything I reach for can be mine, yet this I know, at least I'll leave a sign. In every miracle of my refrain, I see your footprints. All your ageless pain is mine now. All your laughter I've embraced. I know my life shall never be erased.
If you're comfortable doing so, could you please rise for a moment? There is no timeline on grief. In Jewish life, we carve out particular times to remember those of our loved ones who are gone. Our memorial moments on Shabbat and at major celebrations, the yahrzeit or anniversary of a death. But there is no timeline for grief. There is nothing to say that a loss of many years ago should not still be serious and painful, or that a loss of recent times has not faded because we have moved on in our lives or are at peace with our parting. And so it is important for us to create this space, to leave this time, to preserve our memories, and to feel the love that we still feel for our loved ones who are gone. So I invite us all to pause for a moment of silent tribute as you reflect on the names and faces of your loved ones whose absence is felt in this holiday season. In the Hebrew Bible, in the book of Proverbs, we read, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the memory of a good person is a blessing to us. Please be seated as we hear a song of love. Some choices are nobody's business. The fact that I like pickles and I eat them alone in my own home does not affect your life, unless you are my family who cannot stand even the idea of pickles. Too bad, family. I loved pickles before I loved you. But my pickle passion is not an ethical issue that affects any of your lives. It is a personal preference, a matter of taste, good or bad. If I decided to make pickles and the smell spread throughout the neighborhood, that might be a nuisance enough to earn a local fine. It would be bad manners and inconsiderate, but not evil. If I upped my pickle production even more, to the point that noxious fumes were getting pets and people sick, now my pickle palooza is a health hazard that must be stopped. My mania for the sourest of sour dills has crossed the line from personal flaw to immoral obsession. It is now morally right and morally required to intervene and to stop me. Most people assume ethics is a question of how to be a good person, how to know right from wrong, how to balance individual desires with group needs. In the real world, morality also requires some understanding of when and where. When should our values affect only personal choices? And when should we impose our values on the outside world? Some of you may recall a past High Holiday series on the hardest things to say, like, I don't know, or help me. I pointed out then that you are right and I am wrong is hard to say, but it's very easy to say, I am right and you are wrong. When we think of people publicly telling us that we are morally wrong, what do we picture? Maybe anti-abortion protesters, or the Westboro Baptist Church condemning the LGBT and those who accept them, or fundamentalist prudes telling women they're too exposed. Or maybe it's the militantly secular demanding that Western Muslim women uncover their heads, or European animal rights activists banning kosher and halal slaughter, or each side in the American culture wars trying to ban the books and deplatform the speakers of the other, all in the name of what is right, what is moral, how the world out there should conform to my morals in here and in here. Part of the moral crisis we face today is that question of when and where. When can we take our values in here, in our own minds, in our families, in our communities of meaning, and then impose those values on the outside world? We do not want others telling us what to do, so when can we tell them what we want them to do or not to do? Here is one example. When our children went to preschool, we faced a dilemma. The preschool had tricycles the children could ride at recess, and wearing helmets was optional based on parent preference. My wife's close friend had had her life saved by a bike helmet, and we are seatbelt kind of people anyways, so we knew that we would require our children to wear helmets. Other parents made different choices, and our children had already seen other families riding bikes both with and without helmets. We had to explain why they had to wear helmets while other kids would not. Our solution was to say that we felt the unhelmeted were not making a smart choice. Is that judgmental of other people's preferences? Yes, it is. Even if it's judgmental while affirming their right to choose differently. But we would rather be a little judgmental with safe children who understand safe choices than to abdicate our parental responsibility for their safety by telling them, do whatever you want. This was our balance between helicopter parenting and free-range parenting, between a nanny state and a state small enough to drown in a bathtub, between living our own values and letting others live theirs. We could have decided that our 4-year-old could do their own cost-benefit analysis between the wind in their hair and the risks of their head on, well, whatever. Or, since preventing harm to others is a moral action, we could have decided that letting any child ride without a helmet was immoral, child endangerment, and we could have demanded that the preschool change its policy, or else we would leave. Maybe even protest in front of the school and online until they accepted our moral judgment. This is what we chose. Smart choices. What would you have done? Historically, religion has had very few qualms about vocally and vehemently telling people they're doing it wrong. Torah commandments are not secrets or only for the elite or multiple choice. Hebrew prophets frequently condemned both human cruelty and the theological infidelity of, quote, whoring after other gods. Why do Jews break a glass at the end of weddings? One source describes a rabbi upset that a wedding party was celebrating with too much joy while the Jerusalem temple lay destroyed, so he smashed an expensive glass to correct them. Jesus threw money changers out of that same temple and preached repentance before the end of days. Muhammad and his successors fused religion and politics in one ummah or community to purify Muslim religious practice and to impose Islam on those who did not already worship one God with written revelation, as did Christians or Jews. Witches have been burned, heretics persecuted, infidels slaughtered, all in the name of enforcing morality. Ironically, we call what they did evil. They were convinced they were righteous. This history gives us pause if we consider proclaiming our own moral mission. Are we crusading for justice, or are we just crusaders in the 21st century, convinced of our righteousness to the point of blindness? 100 years ago, it was illegal in the United States to consume alcohol outside of small quantities for religious rituals. L'chaim was okay, but no more. Prohibition was passed with the best moral intentions, fighting alcoholism, eliminating public drunkenness, reducing domestic abuse and poverty, improving public safety. You can hear the religious fervor in the Women's Christian Temperance Union. Of course, people who wanted to drink and felt it was just a personal choice simply ignored the rules. And there were real dangers from bootleg liquor and the explosion in criminality by bootleggers. Eventually, the country agreed that the harms of prohibition outweighed the benefits, and also that allowing drinking at all is a personal choice, even with the risks of abuse and addiction, drunk driving, fetal alcohol syndrome, and all the rest. Would banning alcohol today potentially save lives? Yes. Would that impose one group's choice on everyone? It would. We need to differentiate between personal preference and moral crisis. Some issues are moral dilemmas, and some issues, it's just a pickle. We do not rely on commandments, so it would be particularly hypocritical of me to tell you exactly what to do. And recall that morality is about more than just harming or helping people. We consider some deeds immoral if they treat people deeply unfairly, even if the harm is minimal. Some deeds are immoral if they undermine our freedom and autonomy. Some are immoral if they are rooted in deception or violate fundamental dignity. Some deeds are considered immoral if they undermine key structures and institutions. For more about these categories of moral thinking, I recommend moral psychologist Jonathan Haidt's wonderful book, The Righteous Mind. Morality and the root of our moral crisis is not just a question of how, it is a question of when and where, and the complex intersection of multiple duties. Do we lie to save someone from what we think will hurt them? Or does that undermine their dignity to handle the truth, and the lie itself is a moral violation? Social cohesion is good for humanity, but what are the proper limits on personal expression? Today, we are focused on life and death, the moral category of harm and care. But remember that morality encompasses much more. Rabbinic ethics likewise grappled with the conflict of duties. Can you break Shabbat to save a life? How do you honor your parents if they are thieves? There's an old saying about when morality intervenes in personal choices. Your freedom ends where your fist hits my nose. Fist, not pickle smell. This could mean that I could punch a wall and hurt myself, because that does not hurt you any more than singing the University of Michigan fight song with its arm gesture in a fist. Even though I grew up rooting for University of Michigan and am an alumnus, my post-Holocaust brain still has a visceral reaction to a full stadium raising their right arm yelling, "Hail, hail." They are not being immoral. That is my personal reaction to their free expression. We'll talk more about the power of words and symbols on Yom Kippur. If we agree with this principle, though, that your freedom ends where your fist hits my nose, then we are respecting bodily autonomy. There are times for social good that we infringe on that right, like mandatory vaccines for school admission. But my bodily autonomy is a moral good. This is why I support the right of those with terminal illnesses to freely choose to end their own pain by ending their lives. For me, death with dignity is a moral issue. Non-addictive substances from marijuana to mushrooms are none of our business unless you put me at risk by operating a vehicle. Your freedom also ends where your car hits my car. Bodily autonomy for what we put in our bodies or what we remove from our bodies is a moral issue. Now, are these also political issues? Yes, they are political because they involve passing or revoking laws. Sometimes there is no bright line between what is political and what is moral, because laws limit or permit personal behavior and regulate how we interact with each other. Morality in every flavor agrees that killing people is wrong and saving lives is right. But how indirectly can the causation be to make the behavior immoral enough to require action? Most agree that drunk driving is close enough to potential homicide to require intervention. Now, we know that driving with gasoline contributes to climate change-fueled severe weather, which kills people. But most would disagree that driving with any amount of gasoline is dangerous enough to morally condemn it, at least outside of California. My family has chosen to drive fuel-efficient and now electric vehicles from our moral convictions, but your mileage may vary. So what about the guns? Guns are designed to hurt and to kill, but there is a world of difference in both practical risk and moral responsibility between a responsible gun owner with licensing and training, trigger locks, safely stored ammunition, weapon registration, and reasonable firepower on one hand, and the Wild West with weapons of war that we face today. There is no one-size-fits-all moral answer to some aspects of this challenge. Suicide with a gun kills more people every year than homicide. And handguns kill far more people than long guns like an AR-15. That does not mean that there is nothing we can do, nor is the language of morality beyond the pale. The rabbinic principle of pikuach nefesh, the saving of a life, is so important that one may violate practically any religious law to save a life, to drive on Shabbat, to eat forbidden food, even to violate the fast of Yom Kippur. A new prohibition will not work, but taking on weapons of war and high-capacity magazines and unchecked gun sales will save some lives. You do not need to believe that every human being was created in the image of God to save lives. You just have to believe they exist today in your image, and they want to live as much as you do. I understand. This is the same motivation claimed by the pro-life movement opposing abortion rights, to save what they consider human life. But if they have the right to advocate for their values on the grounds of morality, so do I. 20 years ago, political commentators began writing about values voters. They meant fundamentalist Christian voters, voters who were for school prayer and for government support of religion, and who were against teaching evolution and against gay marriage and against abortion. These values voters voted based on their religious and moral beliefs, not their economic interests or global geopolitics or environmentalism. As usual, this was lazy punditry. Pro-choice and pro-science and pro-separation of church and state and pro-marriage equality voters also have values. They vote based on those values. The more we learn about the brain, the more we realize that no one is a purely rational actor making purely analytical decisions. The more intense the culture wars have become, the harder it is to draw a line between politics and morality. Stigmatizing transgender athletes and banning gender-affirming healthcare leads to more suicides. Banning abortion imposes one segment of one religion's definitions of life on everyone. We have seen how undermining science can impact life and death. Do I vote because of my moral beliefs? I hope I do. Out there, in the real world, we face a moral crisis. The solution to this crisis is not more of that old-time religion with commandments and cosmic judgment and heresy and inquisition. We need to speak up with our moral voice for our moral values: care and concern, diversity and dignity, respect and social cohesion, freedom and responsibility. In traditional rabbinic thought, a cosmic book of life opens on Rosh Hashanah and is sealed on Yom Kippur. These 10 days decide who will live and who will die in the new year. The purpose of high holiday services was to achieve divine forgiveness so your name would be written in that book of life. Today, I challenge us with a different book of life. How many names, how many lives can we save by what we do in the 12 months to come? It can be as mundane as donating blood, or as significant as passing legislation, or as easy as supporting shelter for battered women and children, as we are doing again this year. These lives can only be saved by the human actions that we take. As the Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai once wrote, even a fist was once an open palm with fingers. If we extend our open palm and we join hands and we work together, moral crisis becomes a moral opportunity to do good. What better message to carry into a new Jewish year? Shana Tova, and may we all do some writing in our book of life. Shana Tova, and please wish a Shana Tova to the people sitting near you.